I mean, I think the best example was after J.K. Rowling spoke about women's sex-based rights and women needing to be able to identify as women due to their biological makeup, their experiences physically of being women. The responses from a lot of the cast members of Harry Potter and from a lot of the critics was to repeat the mantra, trans women are women, trans women are women. So this is where we really saw the idea of the language. What J.K. Rowling did was she spoke into a discourse where trans women cannot be seen as women in every situation, that it was seen as perpetuating the oppressive discourse. So it was countered immediately by a lot of celebrities with that counter discourse, simply saying trans women are women. They didn't engage with the argument. There wasn't room for debate. It was the war of these two narratives.
Yeah. I think, I was speaking to a friend about this a couple of weeks ago, about the J.K. Rowling case, and his point was that she maybe shouldn't have made some of the points she made, or how she made them, because of her being a children's author. And I'm not sure that holds, but do you think that's maybe a factor why people were so outraged?
I think it was, certainly, but it depends what you want children to know. I think the way J.K. Rowling spoke was from a place of knowledge. I don't think she said anything thoughtlessly. I think she took care with her words to express compassion and support for trans people, while also wanting women to be able to identify as women due to their biological makeup. So this, I don't think she would see as a damaging thing for children to learn. And so if trans activists think it is, and a lot of them of course do, they think that trans people need to be affirmed from as soon as they realize that they are trans, and this often happens in childhood. And so they could be deeply, deeply hurt by J.K. Rowling's words. But of course, we're learning now more and more evidence that there seems to be two things going on with the whole sort of trans issue. There are trans people. This seems to be undeniable. Some people simply do have this experience of not being the sex that their reproductive system suggests they are. Science, I think, will tell us why this is at some point. It's already giving some results. But there's also a social and political countercultural identity growing up. So we see, for example, whereas it used to be at least twice as many biological males who felt that they were really female as the other way around, now there are way more teenage girls biologically who think they are trans boys. And this switch, alongside a lot of political and ideological rhetoric, suggests that alongside the reality of some people being trans, there is an identity, a political identity of being trans, which makes it all extremely messy because you can't tell who is who, obviously. So it's slightly, I think, I mean, what is this generation's emo or goth? I don't think there is one that we can really see. And I think that the politically trans-identified teens are this generation's emo and goth. And I think that that's going to be a problem because it means that the genuine trans people among them are going to be have a problem in the future, because I think there's going to be quite a mass desistance. And this will undermine the rights of trans people.
Yeah. I think there was also, I can't remember what doctor this was, but she was basically making a point, and people were trying to shut her down for being offensive, but a lot of the research she was quoting was saying that people who, children or teenagers, whatever you call it, who wanted to be the other, like the opposite gender of what their biology said, they changed their mind after they turned 18. A lot of them changed their mind. And the point she was making is that we shouldn't be allowing either those under 16 or those under 18 to undergo the surgery before they turn 18. And that a lot of people were offended by that. But I mean, the science was showing that most of them were changing their minds.
Yeah, I think 95, I think it was something like 95% of very small children who say
Right.
that
Okay.
they're the sex, then later change their minds. After puberty, it's less common
Right.
to change one's mind about that. But there's also a confusion going on culturally with how we look at things. So one thing I found very interesting in Abigail Schreier's recent book, Irreversible Damage, is that at the same time we've seen the increase of adolescent girls who believe themselves to be trans boys growing, we're seeing a disappearance of adolescent girls identifying as lesbians. So there's something there where a young person who is feeling that they don't quite fit in the normal average mold of feminine woman attracted to men, working out where they do fit. And I think culture can push them towards, well, you're actually a boy, rather than, well, you're actually a lesbian. So there's these two approaches, watchful waiting, which is to be supportive but not affirm anything,
Right.
and allow the individual to work it out themselves in a sort of loving and safe environment where you can always talk about it. And there's this immediately affirm program, which can set kids onto a path which they then might later find it difficult to reverse, often because it's difficult for humans to say, I just went through 4 years, I changed my name, I had everybody accept this, and now I realized I was wrong. You could feel too embarrassed to say that. So it's I don't know enough to have, and I don't think anyone knows enough to say precisely what is going on at the moment, but we certainly need to be keeping those discussions open and listening to a greater range of knowledgeable scientists and social scientists who are doing rigorous research.